began struggling with anorexia when I was about 15, 16. At the time, I didn't realize that was what was wrong. I thought maybe I was just stressed, maybe, this was just how I was. It was never a thing where I had lost a lot of weight or it was something overly concerning. That didn't occur until I was about 21, 22. So throughout my teens and through secondary school, I struggled a lot with anxiety. Now for me, I didn't know it was anxiety either. I would go to school, I'd sit in school and I'd just start to feel really nauseous and I'd sweat a lot, and I thought, oh, there's something physically wrong. And at the time, my mum, she'd take me to my GP, and my GP would be like, no, you're fine, like, it's okay, like, you don't have a bug or anything. And then I'd get home and I'd be completely fine. And then the whole thing would recycle itself again when I went back to school. I'd be sitting there in like English class, and I'd just get more and more wound up, and I'd just start feeling ill, and then the cycle repeated itself. And it became this thing where I was nearly afraid to go to school because of these symptoms were only occurring there. It was like I was afraid of school. So as time went on, I didn't know how to manage these feelings, and to kind of garner a sense of control over my life, I started to turn the focus towards food and exercise and things like that. And so then I went on to college, and I had a great time in college. I did 3 years there, I did digital marketing, but the anxiety was still there in the back of my head. And then there was this element of food that I didn't really know how to, I suppose, get a grasp on my reality. It became a thing where I'd go to college and I'd be so afraid walking into the canteen that I'd have to sit there at the table first thing in the morning waiting for my friends to come in, and I'd be looking at my phone and I'd be like this the whole time. But I just thought that was normal. I didn't realize anything was wrong. And then, towards when I was turning 22, I had been living at college by myself, and things started to escalate to the point where my mum expressed concern, and she was like, Jess, something isn't right here. You're very particular about food. You're relying a lot on exercise. You're doing X, Y, and Z. It's not normal. And so from there, I suppose a lot of people don't know how to do this next step, but that was when I reached out to my GP, which is so tough. And if anyone here is struggling in the way that I was, it is the most rewarding thing you can do, because then you're no longer suffering in silence. I went to my GP, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 2 weeks after Christmas, and I sat in my GP's office for, I'd say it was an hour and a half in the waiting room, and it was the longest hour and a half of my life. I sat there and I was toying over in my head how to say, like, there's something going on, and to me at the time it didn't feel like that big of a deal. It was just my mum was expressing concern and my friends were expressing concern. But then I got in there and I said, actually, you know what? I think something's not right here, and I think it'd be very beneficial if I was to talk to someone. And then that was such a relief. Like, I kind of just put it into words how relieving it was to say to someone, something isn't right here. And it was so tough, and there was part of my head that was like, no, like, you're fine, you're making a mountain out of this. But when I sat there and I said it, it was like just this huge weight had been taken off my shoulders. So I went and I was referred to my local community mental health team, and from there the whole process towards recovery began. And it was a long process. I was seeing the community mental health team for 4 years, but alongside that, a lot of external factors came slipping in, and my anorexia began to slide out of control. And so as a result, I needed to attend specialist treatment. So this year, actually, it was April to August, I spent 4 months in inpatient treatment for anorexia, and it was there that I began my pathway to recovery. I learned how to eat again, to go out with my friends, do social activities, and it was so rewarding. It was like I was getting my life back. Before that, I was in just a tunnel of being caught up in my eating disorder. I didn't know any other way around it. I thought this was it, this was my life, this is how I was. But I was so depressed, I was so anxious that I knew something had to change. I was looking at my friends and I was like, you're out there living your life, you're doing this, you're doing that, and I'm not doing any of this. I'm afraid to go out for a meal with you for your birthday. So I began the pathway to recovery, and that's where I am now. And I think a massive part of speaking out about my story is to hopefully inspire others, so maybe people like you. Statistically speaking, there'll be some people here who are struggling in the way I was, and it's okay to reach out and get help. Like, it's the hardest thing you will ever do, but you can do it. And a lot of the work I do at Sea Change is I speak out to destigmatize mental illness. So I do a lot of, writing and blogging, or Instagramming stories, just to show other people that it's okay to talk about this. Like, the person you're sat next to, you can turn to them and say, how are you? Like, are you okay? And you can give them an honest answer. I think in society, a lot of us, we'll turn to the person next to us and we'll be like, oh, I'm okay, like, I'm grand, how are you? But we never kind of say how we actually feel. Like, for me, coming on stage, like, I was pretty anxious, I was pretty nervous, and I said that to those around me, because I'm okay with saying with that, I can own it. And it's important to, own how you're feeling, and say that to those around you so you don't suffer in silence. And today is World Mental Health Day, and that's why myself and Abigail are here, just to talk about our own stories and to hopefully inspire you to reach out to your friends and to your family and to say that maybe I'm struggling, or you think your friend or family member is struggling, and it's okay to reach out and get help. It's the best thing you'll ever do. And for me, now that I'm in recovery and I'm moving on with my life, I can see that when I look back, that there was me who was, a sister, a niece, an aunt, a friend, and then there was me who was anorexia. There was me who threw fights with people because I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to do that, I didn't want to be made, break this behavior and that behavior. But now I'm myself again, I'm a friend, I'm back at work, I'm socializing, I'm regaining my life. And if any of you here are struggling like that, that is something you can do. You can regain back your life, and it's okay to reach out for help, and you don't have to suffer in silence. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the talks.